Hello, Peppy for Brawl here, and welcome to my 9th model review. My 9th model this time is a character called Walrus from Megaman X4, which is a game. He might not be that well known, but if you're like a Megaman fan, then you most likely will know him. But yeah, Walrus from Megaman X4. When I played Megaman X4, and when it was like before you fight the 8 bosses, it usually gives you a description of each boss and gives you also illustration of what they look like. And I thought, they all look cool, but Frost Walrus was actually the last one to be introduced, and I saw him and I thought, whoa, he looks so cool. And then I chose him as well, and I did hear that he's actually the first boss that most people usually choose in that game. So yeah, I chose him, and when I saw his whole body I thought, whoa, cool. And then after a while I just grew to really liking him, and soon becoming one of my most favourite characters. So from the structure of his look, first, because he doesn't have a figure or a model of any sort on this character, so I thought, I can't get him. But I thought, I like to make models, so I made him. But before making him, I knew that he would be quite a challenge because of his body structure and shape. He's actually quite big. You haven't actually seen the full view, but if I just put him back, that's the full view of him now. Now you can see him all. Yeah, I knew that he's going to be quite complicated to make. Oh, there's a lot of stuff to say in this video, so I might have to split it into 2 parts. Yeah, when I chose to make him, I knew he was going to be complicated, so I thought, should I really make him? He's quite hard to make, because the rest of my models aren't, well, they're still hard and complicated to make, but Frost Walrus has quite a lot of detail and other stuff. But in the end I thought, go on then, I'll make him. But I had to also plan out how I was going to make him. So first I looked on the internet for a sprite of him and an illustration of him, so I can get much clearer views of what the detail and how his body looks like. But online, I'm not sure who, but someone has kindly enough separated Frost Walrus sprites in game so that each part was on its own, so the arm was detached and the foot, so I could see all details around. And when I looked at it, the first part that I need to create was mainly the round body. So I thought, if I make the body out of blue tack, oh yeah, the whole model is made out of blue tack again, with other materials such as foam board and plastics. Yeah, if I made this ball here, this round ball, which is actually quite big, the ball is actually bigger than my Pokeball model ball. So if I made that out of blue tack, it will consume so much blue tack, so many packs, and it will also make it really heavy, and it will also make it hard to smooth it all the way around. So I thought that wouldn't be a good idea, considering that also when I had a look at his body, if I just turn him around, yeah, from the look of it, on his body, his legs are actually always bent. They never really stand straight. Ross will probably be about like twice as tall as him, as he is now. So the only part that's supporting his whole body is actually just this part in the thighs of his legs. So if I made the body out of blue tack, it'll be way too heavy, and this will just collapse all down. Even though it's made out of a hollow bouncy ball, which I bought to make him, it's still heavy. So that's why here on the stand here, there's actually a bit to support him, but I'll get to that later. So I went to buy a ball first, and yeah, I bought a ball for his body, and then before I started making it, I actually used the black pen to draw out where each body part would go, so, and the head as well. So once all that was marked out, I began painting the ball with a white acrylic paint, but because of the surface of the ball, it's really smooth and the paint wouldn't really stick on, and white as well, the colour white of the paint, it takes quite a few layers until it becomes solid white looking. So that wasn't really working, so I searched around the house to see what other kind of paint I could use for him, and in the end I chose, I'm not sure what it's called, but it's the paint that you use to paint walls inside houses and stuff, and that's basically what I use. It's quite thick paint, so one stroke was quite enough to cover it, but I had to put on at least 2 or 3 layers until it was solid. If I used acrylic paints, it would probably take about 8 layers, so that saved quite a bit of time. After that, I was going to make this part of him out of blue tack as well, but if I did, it will be hard to make it round and smooth, plus it will add weight to the body, so he'll probably fall, and that's something I want to avoid from him happening. So I actually looked around the house again and actually found an old gel box, a gel that you used to put in your hair. This was the lid for that gel box, so I thought, that actually looks quite good, it's actually quite a cool shape. Although I know that the actual character's green part in the game is actually just a smooth, round, half ball, but I thought, why not just vary it just slightly, just to give it this kind of detail. So if I zoom in closer, it's got this ridge here, and it's got the small lines, so I think that adds quite a good effect to him. So the lid was originally yellow, so I painted it green with acrylic paints. Once that was done, I left that to dry, and then I went straight to make the head. Let's just have a zoom in, a closer look at the head, just so you can see how it looks. Oh yeah. It's made out of blue tack again, and it was fairly hard to make the head, especially to get the small details in, like the shape of his eyes, and it was quite hard to get the overall shape of it. The head was quite complicated to make, but I probably found most hard to make was the nose, and possibly the eyes, I said already, and probably the mouth part here. It was hard to mould them because they're quite small parts, but in the end I think it looks okay. I mean, plus the head's important because it really defines on how a character looks. So sorry. So once that was done, I didn't paint it yet because I chose to make everything out before painting it, but to get details like the eyes and this little crease between his eyes, I used tools to just dent in some parts, and then I'll get to his tusk or ice teeth later. And then once the body was, this bit was done, I went ahead and made the arms, and the arms were hard. They just have a really complex shape and detail on them. First I just had to roll a really thick piece, long kind of round part for his arm, so that was separate, and then I just added a thin layer, or not thin, but this kind of thickness of blue tack, which was just pretty much a round circle. Just placed it on top of his arm and just molded it into the shape for his shoulder pad, and then just added the screws. There's one on the back as well, the round part, and the ice spike, shoulder spike, but the ice parts are actually attached last. and the forearm. Oh, this is hard. This was really hard to make. It was just hard getting that shape. It was very hard getting the shape and the detail, especially the blue part here. Sorry, let's get in focus. Yeah, especially this bit here because it's like a gear shape, so it has a lot of raised and dented in surfaces. But yeah, that bit took a while to make, but the hand as well. That was hard. That was really hard to make as well. Like for the fingers, I actually made each part separately, individually. So I sculpted up the palm of the hand first, and then for the fingers, thumb, each finger point, I actually just made this part on its own, and then rolled out a small ball, and then made this part on its own, and then so on. And then I just like, once they were all made, I stuck them together carefully so that it doesn't lose their shape, stuck it to the palm, and this way, this was actually quite fun, this part, because when I made the hand, it was so posable, like each finger was just so posable. I was like, oh, this is fun. But yeah, so that gave me a lot of room to how I wanted him to pose. But when I did, before I made it, I had a pose in mind, which is the pose he's in now. So I just mainly made this into a fist. And then, sorry, and then this bit was the knuckles, so I added the 4 metal spikes. In the game they're actually sharper, but if I made them too sharp then the blue tack would mainly just kind of bend a bit or be much more fragile, so I had to kind of make them just slightly thicker than how they actually are. But yeah, the whole arm took me about 5 hours to do. I was like, oh, it's finally done, and that wasn't even painted. I was like, oh. And then I came to the other arm I had to make, so I thought, so all in all 10 hours altogether on the arms. So I made it in the same way, but only this time I put the shoulder pad on the side of the arm because I wanted to make him have a raised arm. And for the hand as well, if I can just get there. Yeah, for the hand, it's open this time, so for this hand you probably can see the detail better. Like each finger part and each joint and the inside of the palm of the hand as well. The hands were hard to make, but overall quite fun, I suppose. And then once the arms were made, I went on to create the legs and the feet. Now the legs were also hard to make, and they took me a very long time to make as well. Plus they just consumed so much blue tack. But just to say, all in all, this model actually took about 25 packs of large size blue tack packs to make, so that was quite a lot. And just this foot, not including this bit or this part, just this foot alone used up 1 pack of the blue tack, so you can guess how many packs. Well, I just told you, but yeah, all that is just 1 pack of blue tack. But mainly for this bit, I just made a really huge part of a blue tack and just made it into like a kind of long kind of shape, and then I just added more parts to it. Like I attached this part on, which was just like the same like the shoulder pads for the arm. It's just a round, quite thick blue tack. Just placed it on, molded it, and then added these bits, and so on. And this bit as well to add this bit and then attach. This part is made out of blue tack as well. This grunt part, that's blue tack, and this bit probably has the most pressure out of all the parts right now, because that's mainly the part that holds it all together. For his teeth or tusk, I used toothpicks again, and put them in as a base and wrap blue tack around so that they won't bend or flop around, so they're quite stiff now. Actually, when I came to make the ice parts, I originally actually wanted to make them out of real ice, like sculpt them out of real ice and put them on, but I know that wouldn't work because if I put them on, they'll soon melt away and like turn into water and probably damage it, unless I put it in the fridge. But if I put it in the fridge, then the model itself might get damaged. So in the end, I still had to go for blue tack and made them, and then try to paint them like a kind of ice feel, like using the same kind of colours as the stand colours. Once okay, the foot took about maybe 4 hours to make, same with the other one, so that was 8 hours. And then once the main parts of them were done, I went on to add the remaining accessories or parts, you could say. So I went on to make this part, which is that, I'm not too sure what it is, but it's just this, I'm not sure what it is, but it is part of them. Maybe it's like I don't know, something like to store ice or something, but anyway. Now then I went on to make these little parts, which he does have altogether 4 of them. There's one just there, if you can see it. Those were fairly quick to make, and 2 on the other side. And then there's also the chest part here. This part, it's quite hard to see it. If I just get there. Yeah, but basically that part is 3 layers, so I made that part, then made a smaller bit, stuck it on, and so on, until it became like that. And then once that was done, yeah, I made that part at the same time, made the chest, so they were together nicely. So once all that was done, overall this model is actually the hardest one that I've made so far. It's also the biggest, which I'm sure you can see. But yeah, what was I? So once it was all done, oh yeah, just to say, the feet, before I forget, the feet actually have detail underneath the foot. It's actually, if you look on the sprite, especially when they attack, when he slides on the floor, you get to see his the bottom part of his feet. And it's basically white and red. What am I saying? Red and blue. White and blue, and it has the red. That's why I get getting confused. A red kind of jewel at the sole of the heel of his foot, a bit like Megaman X's dash function. It is actually there, the hole, but I can't really show you because the model itself is very fragile. So if I try to move him from the stand, he'll probably not fall apart, but just get damaged, and yeah, it probably will fall apart. And then once all that was done, I stuck him together all onto the ball using super glue. This bit was hard because it wasn't quite working. What I did first was stuck the legs on to this part here, so making sure that they can stand, but they wasn't. It just kept falling back. So that was a bit of a problem, but I thought if I add the body, maybe it will counter-attack the weight. So I added this, the main body, and then it didn't fall anymore. And then added the arms, but the foot here got in the way of the arms, so I had to really, the foot was originally standing here, so it was in the way of the arms, so I had to really move his foot here. So that caused a bit of damage to the thigh here, so I had to remold it and repaint some parts. But once that was done, the arm was free, so I could put it there. And also, well, from the start I knew that having his arm up would mainly make it just go there because it's so heavy. So I originally wanted to put like a stick or like a solid long part in his arm and attach it inside the ball, but I knew that if I do that to the ball, it'll damage the ball and it'll probably lose its shape and it'll probably just go small, so I didn't want that to happen. So to fix that, I just mainly used a temporarily stand just to keep his arm up. Not this one here, because this is the final stand, but just a normal plastic kind of stand. And then it was hard to get the pose all together, and then it was like, oh, I kept falling apart. Attached this, it came out, and then when I attached the head, that's when it got more unstable. Because if you look at the side, its head is actually quite forward, so it kept going just fall forward instead of backwards. So that was like a problem that I had to fix. And then yeah, like that was the main part of the whole structure. Plus altogether it took me about 2.5 weeks to make, but usually with my other models I spend about maybe 4 hours on each day, but this one was like all day every day, so you could say if I stuck to the 4 hours each day, this one would become probably like just over a month to finish. So yeah, that's how long this one took. It was also the hardest one to make. And when I got to the painting stage, that was hard as well. Oh yeah, the white here is actually acrylic paint. So yeah, the whites on the arm, shoulder pad, feet, all the white except for the body is painted with acrylic paint rather than the paint to paint walls. So these, like I said before, took more layers than the white body itself, but during this review you probably noticed that on the actual body here, as you can see, it's starting to really crease, and just behind the green part it's really starting to like rip really. Same with the attachment to the 4 little parts here. That's only the house paint has done that, the rest of them hasn't. So this tells me that choosing this paint, like when I painted it first, it was very smooth, but then I used super glue to attach the body parts to him, and then after a few weeks it began to crumble to what you see now. So this makes him even more fragile, so sometimes every now and then I need to fix him up. Like these parts sometimes fall off, even the head, the whole green part of the head sometimes just falls off, and sometimes the arm just disconnects and then slowly falls, and when it falls it lands onto his foot, the knee here, and they begin to melt together, so this damages it even more. But the rest of his body hasn't really deteriorated or been damaged, it's just mainly the whole body. During this whole video I haven't even showed you the back of him. Okay, let's just turn him around. Since he's so fragile, I need to be very careful and slow with him. So, okay, in the back. I had a bit of trouble with the back because in the official illustration and the sprite, it never had a view of his back, so I wasn't too sure what actually goes here. My guess is that the chest part here, the blue part, actually extends all the way around and probably back to the other side, but I wasn't too sure, so I just left it solid white. Yeah, you can see damage here as well. You can see that crack. Like, this makes the arm very fragile, and if I just do this, like just move him slightly, you can probably see the arms moving, so very fragile. But once the whole model was finally finished, I do actually quite like how he looks, but I wasn't too keen on having that temporary stand for his arm. It didn't look quite together, so I thought I'll just make him something that would just to support his arm. But while thinking on this line, I thought, why not create an art out of a stand? So I thought, okay, so rather than just making a plain kind of stand, I thought to do something that would represent his stage in his level, which is a snowy mountain kind of abandoned factory stage. So I thought, okay, I'll just make some kind of glacier kind of stand. If I put a bird's eye view, this is the actual shape of the stand. It's a bit like a kind of like a firework. But yeah. But to make this, I made it out of foam board. So basically, I just drew it out first, and then cut it out with a knife, and yeah, this part as well. Yeah, cut it out and made it like spiky, so it kind of looks like shards of ice. And for this part, this was a really important part, because the whole point of the stand was to make his arm for support. So I was thinking, what can I make to that would be a stand but represent his stage. So I thought, what the attacks he does, because when you fight against him, he likes to use quite a few icicle glacier kind of shards. So I thought, okay, why not have him like make these are foam board as well, but why not just make them look like ice shards? So basically what I did, I just cut out some very random shapes all together and just stuck them on as a pile. So now it looks like he's got some movement. It looks like he's kind of put his hand down here and just went made all of them. And to add a bit more, I did just some depth to it really, by adding some parts that would like stand up. So these look like some obstacles that X has to go through within his stage. These are just to be like glacier kind of leftover parts. To paint it, again I used acrylic paint, so I basically just blew and then added shades. And yeah, this part as well. Now, throughout this review, you might have been wondering what this is. Like, what is it? I mean, it's a part of his background, but why is it separate? Why is it not attached on? Well, you see, like I said, I said before I had to review this, I had to go on holiday, and I knew that before I went on holiday, there was something that I wanted to get while I was there, and hence this is why I made it. So I'll just go and get him. Yeah, so before I went on holiday, there was something I wanted to get, which is why while making this stand for Frost Walrus, I also made this in preparation for him, and this is it here. Yes, this is Megaman X, the X that we all know, and this figure is by Bandai, and it's one of the Deluxe line. But I won't review him because there's already plenty of videos on him already. So if you would like, you can check him out. But this review is about Frost Walrus. So anyway, I made this stand so that it is specialized for X. And since Frost Walrus is already in a battle pose, I thought if I make a stand for X and put them together like this, there, the battle scene between them both. So yeah, that's, well, I think it's pretty cool. I quite like the scene. Like, this is how I like to pose them now. Like D-Art's line Megaman X versus my own Peppyful Brawl created Frost Walrus, a battle scene. I hope you've enjoyed this review. I know it's been quite a long review on Frost Walrus, but you know, he did take a long time to make, and there was a lot to explain. But I hope you've enjoyed this review. Well, yeah, I hope to see you again soon. See ya.